Who has to be better at sex out of a relationship, the man or the woman?
No
I
one.
would say the man. Yes.
No.
The man.
Why do you
it works
think
both
that?
ways. I feel like why?
Shannon,
Yeah.
you're
Okay.
muted, by
That's
the
a
way.
good question. Why? Why do you think that? Yeah.
Would you not like a good, happy sex life in a relationship? As a
We
woman?
all would. We all would.
Yeah.
But as a man, you guys still do the thing of complaining where like, oh, she's lazy. So then what do you want?
Who are
What
you
was your
listening
question
to?
again? What did you ask?
Body. We were asking about body count.
No, him.
Okay. And
Like,
Why does it matter?
oh,
Yeah, why does it matter?
In a relationship,
you
which
said
is more
who needs
important
to
to
be
be good
better
at sex?
sexually?
Which is more important to be good at sex, the woman or the man?
How is a
Both
woman
of them.
supposed to be good at sex if she can't have sex?
That's the
how
thing.
do you learn?
It's for us.
How do you expect to be good at sex
No.
if you don't have a
If
body
you don't
count
have the
prior
sex
to being at
education.
your
Okay, here's the reason why I asked that question. Because men do not care whether you're great at sex or not. We can
That's
put
a
our
lie.
penis in
That's
you
a
and
cap.
come in 20 seconds.
That's why.
But the reason why sex goes
Well,
longer
that's a
is so
cap.
that
You
we
need to
can
put
pleasure
that
you.
cap
I don't
clip
like
to come
that.
up now.
I don't like
if
it. I don't like
if a
it.
guy,
That's
okay,
no.
okay, all right. So if a guy has sex for you just so he can bust a nut, would you want that as a guy to be in a relationship with for the rest of your life?
No.
No.
Exactly my
No.
point. A
that
man will
doesn't
put
prove
his
your
penis
point.
inside a woman.
What about
and-
me?
Okay, you and I are about to get into a really big conversation.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
Basically, you're
Let's
touching
do
on just the physicality of biology to create a baby versus actually having sex. A man does not
Okay,
want to
let's
just
go.
have sex for 20 seconds to bust his nut. A man gets pleasure from having sex as well. And
Yes, I
part
know
of that pleasure he gets from having sex is pleasuring a woman.
Exactly my point.
Oh, exactly.
You're
your
proving my
point.
point. That's why the man has to be somewhat decent at sex, whereas
And
a woman can be. It doesn't
So
matter for
the
a
man
man.
can have a
Like,
high
you
body
just, like, you
count,
just
but
don't
the
have a
woman
corpse
can't.
play there.
Sorry.
Shaniqua, you go first.
So you're saying that the man can have a body. So the man can have a high body count, so he's better at sex versus the woman because y'all don't care about if we suck at sex
No.
or not.
Whether a man has a high body count or not, it doesn't really matter. But if he's a decent, half decent guy at sex, it's much more important than the woman being good at sex or not. Hence why the body count doesn't really matter for a man.
I'm just going to tell you, it doesn't matter how big the body count for a man is because they still can't figure out where the clit is.
Woman, it doesn't.
Exactly my point. You're making my point. You're making my point. Whereas for a woman, it's very, very important for a man. Why? There are risks involved.
Oh.
There are high risks involved for a man to be involved with a woman with a high body count.
And you don't think there's a high risk for a woman to be involved with a man with a high body count?
Because most
Well,
STDs
what are those risks? What are those risks?
What are those
Let
risks?
me know. What are those risks for a guy that has a high body count?
STDs.
Shenequa just said it. STDs,
STDs.
STIs.
Men do. Women, we get checked annually. Y'all don't get checked unless we tell y'all that we have something.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Man,
100%.
You are with some
I
problematic
don't-
guys then.
What?
I mean,
You
but
guys have with some
what?
really problematic
what's-
guys.
But what's a risk that's specific to a man? So like we make specific risks. A woman could get pregnant if you're having multiple sexual partners. You may get pregnant with another guy. Like you make it like so. Like this risk that's specifically tied to men and women. So you could get pregnant. We can't. That's a risk specific to you if you decide to go and have multiple. But for men, we can't. So we don't have that risk. So what are the risks that we have by God that have multiple high body count is only specific to us as men. But the STDs, it goes both ways. That's both men and women. But what is a risk for us specifically that ties to us for having a high body count? What are those risks?
But
That
I
only
feel like
comes
you
to the
just
men.
can't dismiss STDs like that because it's huge.
It's a really big thing.
It's a
Number
lot.
one,
Yeah,
with
Yeah,
the-
but that's both. But that's both. But that goes both ways.
you
Give me
act
one
as
that's
though, like,
specific.
us having a baby is the only risk. Like
That's
you could
it.
have, like you could be out there with like 3 babies with 3
Yeah,
different
but
baby
the risk
mamas.
still goes back to the woman.
Exactly. Because my
She
thing
has
is
to
I
look
can get
after
pregnant
the
once.
child.
Like,
Yeah, but the thing is, if you have multiple sexual partners, there's a risk that the baby may not be mine. So that's a risk only that men can have.
So
You
if
can
you're
when
having
you have
sex
when
with
you have a
multiple
baby,
women,
but when you have a
okay,
baby,
okay,
women
all right.
pregnant
No,
once a
we are having 2 different discussions. We're
Okay.
having 2 different discussions, and I want to bring it back full circle. Because you're talking about number one, high body count versus sleeping with multiple people at the same time. Two different things.
That's body count. You're
Okay.
sleeping with multiple women to raise your body count, like multiple sexual partners, right? That's high body
Right.
count. You're
Sleeping with multiple people at the same time. Like I slept with Tom on Monday and Bob on Tuesday.
No, I'm not saying high, there's no time limit. It's just you just have a high body count in general.
Okay, but that's how you don't know who your baby daddy is. That's how you don't is if I sleep with multiple men at the same time versus I have consensual, responsible sex, meaning if I'm in a relationship with you and we decide I'm not wearing a condom, I'm not on birth control, we're going to use the old pull-out method. God, like I don't understand why. Like you understand that I'm only sleeping with you and you're only sleeping with me. As a woman who's 40 years old, who's been single since, I mean, technically I've been single. I've never been married. I've been in long-term relationships. In those long-term relationships, I've only been having sex with that one person. But at the same time, that doesn't mean I've only had sex with one person in my entire life. Does that make sense? That doesn't mean my body count's 100, but it doesn't mean my body count is like 2.
It makes sense.
So what's the number? I guess that's my question for you guys is what's the number for a man that you immediately start dismissing a woman that she's got a high body count?
I think the number is over 5 or 6.
What?
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yep.
How many women have you slept with?
I lost my virginity at 18 years old and I'm 40 years old. That means I've had sex once every 3 years.
Okay.
If that's the truth. Like
one sexual partner. 6 sexual partner is the absolute max.